This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Oh my God!
Welcome to the hardest hitting, elbow dropping wrestling podcast on all of the internet. Welcome to DocNJock's Wrestling Show. This is episode 9. As always, rolling with me, he is the Mad Doctor. He's the one who will sit there and suplex you through a table. He is John the Doc Macaroon. What's going on, John?
And to take a quick swipe at our friends at the Breaking Down the Ring podcast. Even weather can't stop us from hitting the airwaves, baby. We show up each and every week. We have a good time. And when there's wrestling to be talked about, we show up. Weather be damned, baby. Nothing shutting us down. Nothing shuts us down here at the network. And why not talk wrestling every single day, man? I can't wait. Huge podcast ahead. We got to break down Clash of Champions, Raw, SmackDown, looking at angles, looking at who's performing well, who's not, whose stock is up, whose stock is down. Vince McMahon looking at other type entities, looking at news and notes. One of the great podcasts, Breaking Down Wrestling, had a chance at Little Caesars Arena to meet Mike Foss and said, look, me and Adam do a wrestling podcast. Get your ass in here. We got to get you on the show. We got to book you. So always kind of weaving our way through the landscape and trying to always have a good time, man.
Outstanding. As always, having a really good time. So let's start this off with Clash of Champions. This took place on Sunday evening. The show got kicked off in the pre-show with Mojo Rawley, who got a big win by hitting a running forearm that totally knocked Zack Ryder out, hit him square in the face.
Looking at the way that match went, it was like, dude, you could put that on the main card. It was a good match. I felt like Mojo kind of is now moving away from that gimmicky Hype Brothers nonsense. I kind of just walked away from that match thinking, dude, if you play it right, Mojo can be a heel.
His heel persona, you could feel, I don't know if it's the anger, if it's
the intensity.
Angst. Yes, it's palpable. And I think he is now positioned very, very well. From this, we transition into Dolph Ziggler getting a huge surprise win.
Shocking.
And the way he ended up winning this was incredible. He ends up hitting a zigzag on Baron Corbin, who's got Bobby Roode up for the End of Days. So as he's going to do End of Days on Bobby Roode, he comes in and steals a win with the zigzag. This was awesome.
I feel like once, you had Ziggler and he's been enhancement talent, putting over guys. I feel like this was basically saying to him, look, this is a culmination of your work. You've been a company guy. Enjoy a title run. And it was well-deserved. It was surprising. I thought it was well done. I didn't see anything wrong with it. It did kind of, for me, though, it shifted my focus a little bit away from, Dolph Ziggler and kind of made me go, what does the company think of Baron Corbin? Your first title run's pretty short. Does it mean that you don't have confidence in him? Does it mean that you didn't feel like he could carry the title for a little bit longer? I felt like his run was a little bit premature, kind of like a little bit forced, and maybe they said, well, maybe we don't believe in him taking the belt off him so fast.
Do you maybe think Baron Corbin dropping the title then sets him up for a run against AJ Styles?
Potentially. I just didn't see why. I felt like the proper thing to do was to keep the belt on Baron. I felt like you could have elevated Ziggler in another fashion. I don't think he needs a belt, but it was surprising. It did the job, but I was more in line with keeping the belt on Baron, elevating him, because now you kind of put him in a little bit of limbo, right?
Yeah, I felt like this whole match was weird, the way it was constructed and the build to it, because all of a sudden Dolph Ziggler gets inserted into the match and then he comes away with the win. So I didn't necessarily understand that. On top of that, Ziggler's been getting beaten left, right, and center now for months, it feels like. So why he comes away with a huge win here, I don't necessarily understand. I'm not mad at it because I really like Dolph Ziggler. I think he's a good wrestler. It's just, you got a guy like Bobby Roode who looks like the next coming, and then you got a guy like Baron Corbin who everybody else in the back at WWE is high on, and yet Dolph Ziggler's the one who walks away with the title. It was a little bit of a head scratcher for me. The Usos end up surviving an action-packed fatal four-way match. They end up hitting a super kick followed by a superfly splash on Chad Gable, who Chad Gable throughout this match was incredible. The guy was just hitting suplex after suplex after suplex on everybody. He looks like he is the real deal. Him and Shelton Benjamin are outstanding as a tag match. In the end, the Usos get the 1-2-3 pinfall, and they end up retaining their belts.
as expected. Great match. I felt like the first couple of matchups really kept you invested in the card, and I was like, man, back in the day, Clash of Champions was just a card that was established by WCW to let champions fight, and it really had that prestige of an event that champions elevated themselves, and the Usos never disappoint. When they get in the ring, they're one of the elite tag teams, and the sign of a good tag team is when you're against your opponents, you make the other tag team look good as well. Similar to AJ Styles and what he's able to do in the singles realm, the Usos, they don't have bad matchups. They're solid on the mic. They're really solid in the ring, and I like kind of the matchups with Gable and Shelton Benjamin. It's nice to see in the tag team division.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. I like the maturity that we're starting to see from Chad Gable and Shelton Benjamin. I enjoy the Usos. I think they're so over right now. The thing that surprised me the most was just how over Rusev and Aiden English were. I mean, the crowd was chanting for them, and if there was a team who you thought was a babyface but was an actual heel, it was this team of Aiden English and Rusev. Charlotte ends up retaining her title by submitting Natalie in the Lumberjack match. Carmella at one point teases that she's going to cash in her Money in the Bank, but Ruby Riott had another idea. I felt like this match seemed a little bit out of place.
I felt like they used the Lumberjacks way too much. I just felt like the match had a potential to be a lot more, and I think they dropped the ball. But in the end, Charlotte you never go wrong with keeping the belt on her.
Do you realize that there were like 7 heel Lumberjacks, and there was like one face?
I feel like now you can take Natalya and move her in a new direction. I think her title matchup picture it should be over now.
Yes, I agree. At this point, you got to do something different with Charlotte, and you can go do something different with Natalie. In the end, Natty gets on the mic, and she ends up basically telling the entire WWE universe that they turned her back on her. She's turning her back on them.
But she was already heel, so it's yeah.
I didn't understand it. If it was like she was a face, it'd have been cool.
Now you're a bigger heel. Good for you.
Yeah, it felt like bad booking.
Yeah.
The Bludgeon Brothers end up destroying Breeze Dango in a quick match. Is this whole thing over now? Like, we had a 6-month build to this moment, and and I don't know where we're at with it right now. You got no resolution on SmackDown. Breeze Dango was just dismantled quickly. What? Where?
You do what you got to do. Bludgeon Brothers, they're a tag team. They're a legitimate threat to the Usos. You feel like they're going to be elevated. They're going to be in the main event scene pretty soon. They're going to be dudes that are going to be pushed, and they're over. So Breeze Dango, they're more of an entertaining act. I feel like, you know what, sometimes we have to recognize that maybe some characters like a Bray Wyatt, some characters maybe like now a Matt Hardy, Breeze Dango, they're more suited for the build-up. In that sometimes in wrestling, you got the whole package where there's great build-up, great matches, but sometimes in terms of your role, Breeze Dango is just an act that's much better suited, similar to the APA, but they were awesome in the ring. Sometimes an act is better suited to just do the vignettes.
Right.
And sometimes that's what they are, and you can still be over there. I know sometimes we're selfish and we judge, and I think we should judge what goes on in the ring, but when you're not over and when your gimmick is to be Breeze Dango, I think it's better to just focus on the vignettes, and we probably have to just lower expectations. That's probably the ceiling for them, is to put people over and have fun vignettes.
Yeah.
That might be it.
I think you're right. I think you're spot on. Then we transition to one of the 2 main events. This is the Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn versus Daniel Bryan.
And I'm glad it wasn't the main event, because the WWE Championship should always be the main event.
So this is the Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn versus Randy Orton and Nakamura match, with Daniel Bryan as a referee, as well as Shane McMahon. As we kind of expected, it was a little bit messy with both of them inside the ring. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn get the win via Daniel Bryan's fast count. To get to the fast count, we have Randy Orton, who seemed to have victory locked up, but Owens ended up pushing Bryan into McMahon to break up the count. Shane O'Mac then refuses to count to 3 when Zayn has Orton pinned. Bryan comes in and he does a quick fast count. And at that point, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn saved their jobs. So, question for you. Does Jock get the bonus point because there was a ref bump that had Daniel Bryan coming in and doing the fast counts?
Okay, just in looking at how we called it, if you do, that gives you the extra point there?
I would end up getting the win here, yeah.
You get the win?
Yeah.
Okay. Here's how we can do it, because you did call it.
And here's the thing. I ask you, right, because it didn't exactly go as I scripted it. It took place, but it wasn't the way I had envisioned it. So It can go either way.
okay, let me think about how to do this because you're up 1-0. I do want to get credit. Okay, how about this? We just both take half. Instead,
well, yeah, in the end, that's where we're at right now. We'll get to that in a minute. But
okay.
Do I get the half point, yes or no?
No, absolutely not. Because
okay, that's what I figured you'd say.
Because the only one that
shouldn't have even given you the option.
Yeah, because the only one the caveat that we had was the tag team match where we called the half.
Right.
So if we don't call it, you have to call it.
No, I called it for this. I asked
did you?
I did. Yeah, I said, do I get a half point if this plays out?
Oh, did you say that last time?
I did, and it played out, but it didn't play out the way I had necessarily envisioned it to.
It's not a problem. We both did pretty good. It's okay. It's not a problem.
But yeah, so I won't take the point this time.
Sure.
All right. So that's that.
Look at you trying to worm your way into some kind of victory.
No, I was just putting it out there. That's why I asked. All right. So then we have our main event, which, like you said, the WWE Championship should be the main event. AJ Styles ends up submitting Jinder Mahal with the calf crusher. AJ was selling all over the place. He ended up hitting a great Styles clash on Samir on the floor. In the end, he ends up putting Mahal in the calf crusher. He does a good job selling, ends up tapping. I think the big story to come out of all of this were Jinder's massive nipples and all of the back acne. Yeah. This dude is totally on roids. And I don't like to say that, but he looks...
It was noticeable.
He is like a prototype for all the side effects of steroids.
But it goes to show you, though, that what a match in a main event means with AJ Styles, because Jinder Mahal...
That was Jinder Mahal's best match of the year.
Best match of the year. He looked like a heel. He looked like a dominant force. AJ Styles, by the psychology in which he sold those moves, was able to make you believe that Jinder's a bad MFer. And that's what a guy like AJ Styles brings, is that people don't want to mess up being in a ring with him because he's a veteran. He's a dude that everyone knows is going to perform. AJ was selling all over the place. It was a 23-minute match. Basically, if you don't want to watch any other match, just watch the AJ Styles match. It was really good. Real quick, going back to the other match, Kevin Owens, I like the matchup. I enjoyed the match. I don't like when the referees or Shane McMahon and Daniel Bryan make themselves elevated. You elevate their angle, as opposed to the boys wrestling. So that's what you did, is that you set up an angle now with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon, which draws away from 4 supremely talented wrestlers. You want to tell their story.
Oh, bro, you didn't know? SmackDown is the Shane McMahon show. Raw is the Stephanie McMahon show. And Triple H rules NXT with an iron fist.
I would not go in that direction. When you got Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, Nakamura, Orton, you got guys that can tell their own story. I understand you want to jump off and things like that, but that should be secondary. Tell the story, let that happen, but focus more on the wrestlers. Don't focus on this nonsense with Daniel Bryan and Shane McMahon. But AJ Styles, listen, put him in a match. He'll deliver. He should be the champion until WrestleMania. I hope that he gets his moment. I hope that he gets to keep it beyond WrestleMania and maybe keep it maybe up until maybe even SummerSlam. Let him have a nice 9-month run.
He's a stud.
He's a stud. Nice belt. Looks good on him. And he's a massive superstar. Overall, I would rate the card like a B-. It was entertaining, but in the end, I felt like it could have done a lot more. You could have skipped through a lot of this stuff.
I felt like this pay-per-view was carried by the first 3 matches that you had. I thought it set up really nicely. And then I thought it finished exceptionally well.
Exactly.
I felt like the women's match, the Bludgeon Brothers match, and the Kevin Owens Sami Zayn match was all
tough.
Kind of like, ugh. So I felt like it was kind of like you had like a crap sandwich going on. I'd probably give it a C, maybe a C-. In the end, Doc ends up getting 6 of 7 correct, and Jock gets 6 of 7 correct. We both missed out on the U.S. title. We both totally didn't see Dolph Ziggler winning the title there. So we each take a half a point there.
Deal.
All right, let's move on to Raw now.
Oh,
so Raw opens.
Wait, before.
Do you want to?
No, let's do a quick recap. What the hell was going on with Raw, dude? I thought the first 2 hours were some of the most atrocious, boring.
It was hard.
It was tough. I didn't understand what was going on. I messaged you. I'm
so
like,
painful to watch.
Why are we watching this garbage? When's this going to end? I thought basically of all the 54 odd Raws I watched this year, probably the worst one. I just wanted it to end. I wanted to turn it off. I was just like, what are you doing with these angles? And there were a lot of botched stuff, too. You had a lot of mistakes production-wise. You had a lot of mistakes, like, just kind of in the ring. It kind of felt like an amateurish type show to start. And I was like, what is going on here with this Raw? It was like, is everybody on a mental vacation? What's going on here? Especially with when you open, okay, we'll talk about the open, but when you open with a segment with Brock Lesnar and he botches his move, it just takes away a little bit of the excitement. I mean, dude, I know Kane's a massive dude, but you don't have to do the F5. Just kick the dude, choke slam, power bomb. You botched it, and the camera tried to get away from it, but you botched it. It was great up until he botched the move, and I just felt like, great. You got these 3 guys that are going to wrestle: Kane, Braun, Brock Lesnar. Great.
Right. It's just going to be a big lumbering match.
Joy.
And I expect Lesnar to win at the Royal Rumble very, very quickly. That was a little bit of foreshadowing of what then takes place to open Raw. Kurt Angle comes out to open Raw stating that he'll announce who will fake Brock Lesnar at the Royal Rumble. He's interrupted by Braun Strowman and then by Kane. Both of them are making their case why they deserve the spot. Paul Heyman then breaks up the testosterone fest by introducing Brock Lesnar. Kurt then announces a triple threat match at the Royal Rumble before Lesnar cleans house, and he does it very, very quickly. And again, like you said, it was very unnecessary. It was bad. It was a bad way to start Raw.
Similar to last week,
well.
First wrestling action took place maybe a minute after last week, so they promoted about 8:10 was the first wrestling move.
Yeah.
Was when Kane took a move, I think, or Brock took a move at Kane.
So then we move on to Seth Rollins, who's supposed to face Samoa Joe, but of course Jason Jordan's got to come out, and he tells Seth to get to the back of the line, which makes no sense. Seth's response is cut short by Joe, who then proposes Jordan versus Rollins, and he'll take on the winner. Rollins then says that the match has already been made, and Jordan can go get his daddy's approval somewhere else. Jordan, of course, takes exception to this and pushes Seth down. Thus, we now have a match. After taking out both Joe and Jordan, this match was okay. It wasn't bad. But again, it was kind of like, what are we doing here? I feel like we're living in Bizarro World. After taking out both Joe and Jordan, Rollins hits the knee and gets the win. After the match, Joe hits the Uranagi and ends up beating down Rollins. He then clotheslines Jordan before going to the back, and that was a massive clothesline. I loved it because I'm getting tired of Jason Jordan at this point. This right here was probably the best part of the first 40-some-odd minutes of Raw.
Yeah.
This is what kind of, like, I guess, I don't know, what you'd give the thumbs up to. After this, we get a rambling Bray Wyatt promo, and I had no idea what the hell was going on with that.
Dude, if you want him, just send him out to the ring. At least he got an entrance, dude. Enough of the promos, man. Dude, let the guy, I mean, you got to mix it up a little bit. So if he's going to be in the back doing a promo all the time, do it from like an open air stadium. Do it from somewhere else. Mix it up a little bit. It's the same thing, nonstop, and it's boring.
Bray Wyatt's promos are cut and paste at this point.
Yeah.
All right, so next we have really, really bad booking, which is a handicap match with Finn Balor versus Bo Dallas and Curtis Axel.
Oh, my God.
This was absolutely awful.
Once I saw who they were fighting, I'm like, oh, my God, Adam's going to love this.
Yeah, I hated it. It was so bad. So during the match, Axel has his nose busted open. He's bleeding all over the place. In the end, Finn sold all match long. Bo and Curtis get DQ'd for beating the crap out of Finn. It's really frustrating. Hideo Itami makes his debut. He ends up coming out to save Finn. The announcers give some kind of BS story about how...
The like, who's that?
Right.
They were like, yay, weird Japanese dudes out here. Yay, what?
They end up telling a story about how Itami and Finn used to wrestle back in Japan together, and nobody cared. And then...
Oh, yeah, another matchup!
Yeah, we get another match. So now we have a tag match with all those parties included. In the end,
I didn't want to see the first
get
one,
the win.
and now they did another one.
I know. This was brutal, dude. And the crowd was totally out of it. Nobody cared. Nobody cared. When I say nobody cares, nobody cared. Like, I think I went pee, and I made something for breakfast the next day, and I think I made my wife's lunch. It was nobody cared.
Thumbs down. That's not how you introduce it. I mean, you could have did a lot better job.
It was so bad. And you know what? It could have been done so much better. If you'd have had Gallows and Anderson come out,
you would have pop. People understood it.
Yes, because the smart fans would have got it. Instead, you had this crap. All right, next we have Enzo, who introduces Drew Gulak, who then praises Enzo and calls him his best friend. As Drew goes to show his Enzo tribute PowerPoint, he's interrupted by Cedric Alexander. Look, I really like Drew Gulak. I'm not gonna hide this. I think he's really, really good. They end up just kind of having a match. It's kind of all over the place because you got Enzo on commentary. Enzo ends up leaving the commentary booth, which is a distraction to Drew because everything he's doing, he's trying to get the favor of Enzo. Alexander then takes advantage and busts up Drew in the mouth, and like Drew's bleeding all over the place. Like people were bleeding, and you had no idea why people were bleeding at this point. Alexander ends up hitting his finisher for the pin. Drew goes to the back. Enzo's back there with Nia. And when Drew comes in, he's all broken up and disheveled. He goes to apologize to Enzo, and in the end, he just cock blocks him instead of sitting there and doing anything good. Enzo is less than pleased. Nia leaves. Enzo screams at him and walks away. I thought this was a decent build. I felt like Drew should have won. whatever.
Well, to show you the lack of investment I had, I channel flipped and didn't even see this whole segment. I came
Good
back.
for you.
Yeah, I channel flipped it and came back to Asuka and Alicia Fox.
Good for you.
So I didn't even see it, and I read the recap and was like, okay, they're going to have Enzo and Drew do something every single week, and Naya's going to come in and do some things. Okay, not invested, don't care.
Yep. So, which then brings us to, like you said, the Asuka and Alicia Fox match, which again, who cares?
Garbage.
And what are we doing? So, we have what was supposed to take place last week between Asuka and Alicia Fox. This was a shit match with Fox running away from Asuka the entire time. Asuka is selling, which makes... I don't understand. She's supposed to be a killer, but you've got her selling to Alicia Fox, who's probably the worst wrestler just in front of Lana, because Lana has no idea what she's doing.
Yep.
All right? In the end, Asuka ends up tapping out Fox. It was garbage. I was frustrated. I had to sit through it and watch it.
Yep.
We then have a 6-man tag match with Ambrose, Rollins, Jordan versus The Bar and Samoa Joe. Ambrose is sporting a wrapped right arm due to an elbow injury. Jordan gets worked over, and then he makes a hot tag to Seth, who then runs wild. Mind you, the whole time, Ambrose is staying on the outside of this match. He's not getting tagged in, so he legit has an elbow injury. Joe ends up turning the tables, and Cesaro then runs wild on Seth. In a weird spot, Ambrose sells that he hurt his elbow here. The doctors come. They have to tend to him, and pretty much this match is wrapped up PDQ. Seth takes a bro kick, and Cesaro makes the pin. It's what it is. What this was a way to get over Ambrose having an elbow injury. We then have a weird awoken Matt Hardy promo where he's playing chess with a fish that is supposed to be Napoleon Bonaparte reincarnated. He then goes on to discuss the Great War and his woken warriors. And I like the promo too, but...
Still not to the level of TNA?
No, it's not.
This wasn't the type of stuff he was doing in TNA.
No, it feels like it's overly scripted. It doesn't feel organic. It feels very forced at this point. And all of the laughing, like he laughed, and his laugh was weird, and his laugh was interesting, but it was done at the right spots. You know what I'm saying? This is overdone. It's too much, and I feel like they're going to ruin this character.
Gotcha. See, I hadn't seen anything much that was done in TNA, so seeing it, because of how bad Raw was, I was intrigued. You're like, okay, this is interesting. So me not knowing what the character looked like, I'm okay with it because I was just like, dude, okay, this is an interesting new character they can do stuff with. It's probably more over or more interesting than anything that you got right now because everything has just been plodding along from old gimmicks and stuff like that. So you got Rollins and the Bar and the Shield doing everything that they've been doing. So you're furthering that along. Basically, Matt Hardy's gimmick is the only thing that's been new. Yeah. So seeing it was interesting. It was funny to me. And so when he started doing the delete thing, it was cool and things like that. So, you know, I understand. I can understand where someone who's seen what the potential could look like. I thought that they made it look as serious as they should have been.
Yeah. I don't know. Compared to what was going on in TNA, this falls way short. So Elias comes out, throws his name into the Royal Rumble. He also then pokes fun at New England by going at Tom Brady and Roger Goodell. He's interrupted, her song is, by Sasha Banks. Then he goes to start again, and then he's interrupted by Mickie James. Then he goes to start again, and then he's interrupted by Bayley. At this point, he gets it, and he leaves the ring. Absolution then comes down to the ring for a 6-woman tag match. Paige and Mickie start the match. This match quickly breaks down with a brawl on the inside, with a brawl on the outside. It's absolutely nuts. Absolution gets DQ'd. Nia Jax then makes her way down to the ring to make the save. She dismantles Absolution by herself. Mind you, Absolution is supposed to be getting over here, right? Yet you have them get dismantled by your giant, who you were trying to keep away from them. So again, I'm totally confused. Paige ends up chopping her in the knee, and then the whole women's locker room just spills out into a rumble. The action in the ring suddenly stops when Stephanie McMahon's music hits, which makes no sense to me because if we're blood enemies, I'm going to kill you. Stephanie McMahon's music or not, damn it, I'm not going to stop whipping your ass. It's just the way this is going to work. Anyway, she comes out. Everybody stopped. Everybody's standing around. She announces that we're going to have a women's battle royal at the Royal Rumble. I've got more information on that during our news and notes segment. At the end of all of this, mind you, these people hate each other, or they're supposed to hate each other. They're crying, holding hands, and hugging.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Don't break kayfabe there. Just announce it and move on. Yeah, that's it.
They should all be staring at each other angrily.
They should start fighting.
Something.
Yeah.
I have no idea. And you know what? Stephanie McMahon looked awful. Like, she looked like...
But she's a mom of 4 girls.
I don't give a shit. She looked awful. She looked haggard. She looked chubby. Like she's been sitting there stuffing her face with Triple H is steroids. I've got no idea what's going on, and I don't need to see you on Raw. It is not Monday Night Stephanie McMahon. It is Monday Night Raw. Go away. Let's move on to SmackDown, something that was a little bit better than the pile of shit I had to watch on Monday.
Yeah, Raw was atrocious, man. It was just, I couldn't believe that. That's what they put out there.
All right, so Daniel Bryan opens SmackDown to announce the main event for the night, which was Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, and Jinder Mahal versus Randy Orton, Nakamura, and AJ Styles. He also makes mention to what Stephanie McMahon just talked about with the Battle Royal that's going to take place at the Royal Rumble. He's interrupted by Shane McMahon. Shane recounts the end of Clash of Champions with Daniel Bryan and wants answers about what happened on Sunday night. Daniel says he was protecting Shane from himself. Now, this is where it gets good, okay? Shane says he doesn't need Daniel to protect him. However, Daniel disagrees and goes on to recount the dream that the two of them have or had for SmackDown being the land of opportunity, not just for putting over guys that Shane likes, but for putting over everybody. If you deserve it, you're going to get a shot, is basically what he says. In the end, Daniel tells Shane to fire him. And in the end, Daniel tells Shane that if he's looking to fire somebody, he can fire himself because he doesn't want Shane to turn into Vince McMahon. And that was why he sat there and did the fast count, was so Shane doesn't fire
two
Kevin
guys
Owens
that are worthy.
and Sami Zayn. In the end, Shane wishes him good luck and ends up walking away. It creates a lot of tension. I thought this was done excellently. I thought Shane's reaction was good. I thought Daniel Bryan, just the way he sat there and he bossed up, and I thought the way he handled himself was exceptional. This was good. This is how you build for a long-term story that probably isn't going to play out until the Royal Rumble. This was awesome.
Yeah, but again, 2-hour show. You can't have 15 minutes to talking. Come on, tighten it up. Let's go.
I agree with you.
It's a 2-hour show. You can't have a quarter segment being talking. Come on, get into the action. Streamline this. 10 to 12 minutes tops. When you go over 10, you're taking a little bit of time away from some wrestling. That's what we come there to see. The promos are too long. Do them in the middle. Do them in the 9 o'clock hour as a breakup of some action. Get to the action. People tune in. We know you're setting up a show, but you have an announcer there. Let them spit out words when the action's taking place. Let them kind of tell a story too. Shane, Daniel, they're telling a lot of stories, and when you're taking away from the boys and the young gals there that are doing some things, it is irritating.
I told you, it's
Raw and SmackDown is the authority.
It's the McMahons. Ugh. It's all about the McMahons. All right, so the Usos take on Chad and Shelton in a tag match. Chad and Shelton look strong in this match, and they basically capitalize on some missed chances by the Usos. In the end, they hit their finisher for the win. I thought it was a good match.
That's how you elevate them to get them to say, okay, we're now worthy of a title matchup. Yes.
Exactly. Charlotte then comes down to the ring to talk to the WWE Universe about the Women's Battle Royal taking place at the Royal Rumble. Naomi comes down to throw her name in the hat for the Royal Rumble and says she will see her at WrestleMania. That's when the Riot Squad comes out. Mind you, did you notice how Riot was spelt? Riot now has 2 T's instead of 1.
Yeah.
Do you know why?
Nope, tell me.
That is so Vince McMahon and WWE can appropriate the word Riot Squad. Because the way it was spelt before, they couldn't sit there and trademark it.
Oh.
So Vince McMahon wants to own everything. So they end up coming out, and then we end up having a tag match with Naomi and Charlotte versus Sarah Logan and Ruby Riott with 2 T's. This is over very quickly. Naomi gets the pin. Thank goodness. I did not want to see this. We then have a backstage segment where Rusev calls out the New Day. I thought this was great. Rusev is super over at this point. The crowd loves him. He is a heel, but he is treated like a babyface. At some point, he deserves a push, and I just don't see it happening for him. He ends up challenging New Day to a match later on in the evening. We then come back with Dolph Ziggler, who comes out to celebrate his U.S. Championship victory, and he runs through all of his championships in his entire career in WWE. So Dolph is a grand champion. I'm not sure if you're aware. Or
grand champion.
Whatever it is that they made a big deal about Roman Reigns being after he won the Intercontinental belt. So it's weird because Dolph is never really mentioned in this esteem or this prestige. Dolph goes on to tell everybody that they're not worthy of him. He lays his belt down in the middle of the ring and walks out so they have something to remember him by. So did he just walk out on WWE? Like, I know his contract's coming due next year, so this is really, really early. I'm not sure if they've agreed to terms of his release or what's going on here. I've been looking through all the dirt sheets. I can't find any info. I'm not positive. I think what might be happening is they're going to be redoing the U.S. Championship belt. So this is a way to introduce a new belt.
I think that's the case, and also to establish him more of a heel. Like, look, I got a belt. I'm not even going to validate it with a response. You can celebrate me all you want. I'm just Dolph Ziggler. You don't like me. I don't like you. I don't care. I'm just going to do whatever, whenever.
I gotcha. You might be right there. The New Day comes out to take on Rusev and Aiden English in a tag match. The seriousness of this match goes out the window very quickly because Rusev is dressed up as Santa. Aiden English is dressed up as a snowman. Woods is dressed up as a reindeer. Kofi was dressed up as a gingerbread man. And Big E was a giant elf. Big E stands for Big Elf. In the end, New Day wins. It was
entertaining, fine, but silly.
It was a silly match. It was one of those ones where they wrestle with pumpkins on Halloween. Is what it was. We end up having our 6-man main event with Orton, Nakamura, and Styles coming down first.
Loved all the entrances, man. It was just great to see everybody. It was like, wow, these 6 dudes are the main eventers. They're the guys, and obviously seeing AJ Styles, he looks like he owns the belt. It suits him very well. All the entrances were great. I thought it was played out very well. I liked seeing Kevin Owens kind of embrace Jinder a little bit. I like Jinder Mahal's entrance too. He's kind of taking his time, getting it in there. You know, I like to see Samir and Sunil introduce Jinder Mahal. I just like the entrances really more than the matchups.
It's pretty much what it is at this point. Jinder comes down with Samir and Sunil, like you said. Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn end up coming out together. I thought it was a solid match. There was a lot of heat being exchanged between both sides. In the end, Randy Orton turns the tide here. He ends up hitting Jinder with an RKO. He takes care of the Sings with a double DDT. Owens was then hit with a phenomenal forearm with Randy pushing AJ Styles through the air, which I thought was incredible.
Nice look.
And then Nakamura comes in and kills Sami Zayn with a Kinshasa.
Great matchup.
And then gets a pin.
Entertaining.
It was good. This was a very, very good match. This was probably the best match of the night. All right, so breaking it all down, you had a so-so pay-per-view, you had a craptastic Monday Night Raw, and what I would deem to be a solid SmackDown.
Yep, SmackDown wins the week. Exactly. That's the best way to put it. SmackDown now has a little bit more of the talent that you want to see. The storylines are moving along in a way that most people will want to see. I do believe that they are underutilizing Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. They could do a lot more with it. I felt like the tag match was a way to kind of let all these guys rest from Clash of Champions. Fine, no problem. I kind of would have wanted, if I was going to reshape it, you don't have to have AJ Styles and Jinder. You could give Jinder the night off, or Jinder do a promo and AJ do a promo, where you just basically set up the next matchup and see who's next. You could have just said, you know what, we could have maybe we could have had Orton and Nakamura versus Sami Zayn and
oh no, I thought AJ was key in this. AJ and Jinder were key in this because otherwise good. you're it's just the same booking you did last week.
Yeah, but I think that maybe only thing I would do differently is you introduce who's next, because who's AJ Styles going to fight at Royal Rumble? Who's going to step it up? Who could you tease? At least introduce it.
That's why I think it'll probably be Baron Corbin, because they don't have another heel who's on that level unless Randy Orton
does something.
Yeah. Changes.
We'll see how this goes. But I just want to see an introduction of who's next. Or maybe you don't even have it. You have the match, but somebody comes up and is like, I want the match with AJ Styles. I'm ready. Something like that, just to introduce it. They didn't do that, but that's fine. Keep us intrigued. The one complaint I do have, though, WWE is seriously going to run a Raw on Christmas.
Yeah, I know.
What the fuck, bro? My wife was like, seriously? They can't run a rerun? On Christmas, you're going to have a Raw? Who goes to Raw and watches wrestling on Christmas? Dude, how
fans who are more dedicated than you and I?
Dude, I'm like...
I don't get it either, man.
I don't know.
I was like, are you serious? I don't know.
DVR action, baby.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's tough.
Why you don't sit there and do a best of.
Best of.
Just put it out there.
Our show and something else, or
anything.
I don't know.
I didn't get it myself.
All right, hit me with the news and notes.
All right, news and notes. So, that women's Royal Rumble that's going to be taking place at the Royal Rumble. It's said to be 20 women. It's going to be an over-the-top match, just like the men's Royal Rumble. Speculation is Ronda Rousey will enter this and probably win the whole damn thing.
Ronda Rousey.
If you see the image, there's an image out there of the marquee, and Ronda Rousey is in the back right corner.
Nice.
So she will be in this, I'm almost for certain. Again, Vince McMahon wants to bring the XFL back. He started his own sports company called Alpha Entertainment. So this announcement is supposed to be made in January. So you can expect him to be making this conversation about how he wants to bring the XFL back. He's going to end up taking his own money. He's not tapping into WWE's money. He's doing his own separate venture. And he, if you remember back to that 30 for 30, he said at the end of it, he wants to bring back the XFL.
Why? I don't get it. It lost money then. It's going to lose money now. There is no alternate to the NFL. Unless it's a gimmick, I don't see a scenario in which he doesn't lose a bunch of money. Why go down this road?
I think it could be done. and hear me out.
To make money? I don't know.
Hear me out on this, right? It's going to be additional programming probably for the network, okay? Because the network sales have basically stagnated. You need more content for it. So you basically put it onto the network. You sell it to the network, so you're just exchanging money with yourself here. What you end up doing is, if he's smart about it, he doesn't make the same mistake he made last time, and he doesn't make the same mistake that the USFL made. You do it during the spring. You give, so after the Super Bowl, you got a month or two off, and then right towards the end of spring, you start it up. So now people are starting to yearn for football again. Remember, football's 365 days a year. The NFL takes no days off. So you're done basically with the NFL draft. So now you got that talent pool to pick through, guys who didn't get drafted. You can now bring them over to the XFL if you want to. You're going to need to give yourself a little bit more time to get guys prepared, and you're going to have to go through a whole off season. And if you make it like an 8-team league, and you do something like 8 to 10 games, I think it could work.
Do you have Colin Kaepernick be part of the league?
Yes.
Quarterback of a team? Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Yep.
It's a way to make news. Why not?
Yep. Why not? WWE adds Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy to their 205 Live touring.
My wife
they're
said,
not under 205 pounds. I
my
don't know
wife
what's
said,
going on.
why? And everyone's like, if you look on Twitter, they're like, Bray Wyatt's not a cruiserweight.
Nope. Not even close.
Matt Hardy's not a cruiserweight,
Not
but
even close.
I agree with it because I ain't going to see the cruiserweight. So if you had maybe one more attractive matchup, maybe I'll look into it. But yeah, no, without Bray Wyatt or Matt Hardy, maybe doing gimmicks or doing stuff as part of the show, I don't see a 205 Live show being viable in any capacity, even to see really Bray Wyatt and Matt Hardy. But you have to do something.
You know,
it's a clear sign, and I think it's disrespectful to the 205
I
guys.
think so too. Yeah, you obviously don't believe in these guys.
Yeah.
I don't know what you're doing. Look, if you let them go out and you let them wrestle the way they wrestle when they were indie stars, I'm cool with it. You're going to have them wrestle the WWE way, I'm not cool with it. I'm not going to go pay the money to see that. I can go sit there and pay $10-15 for an ROH show and be much happier. WWE also blocks multiple users from using a WWE account.
So you're saying that, like, let's say I got a network account, and I'm like, hey, cuz, I know you've fallen on some hard times. Here's the username. Here's the password. Hook it up.
Not happening.
And they said no.
They've gotten wise to it, and now they're blocking people.
Well, what they're going to eventually do is, you want it? Sure, no problem. You can run it on two, like Netflix does.
Yep.
You want to run it on 2 TVs? Pay $10.99. You want to run it on unlimited TVs? $14.99, $29.99, or whatever it is. And that's how they got to do it. They got to cheer it out because, I mean, I'm surprised at this day and age that people haven't locked that up the second you launch a system because, dude, do you not know that people pirate shit? I mean, everyone pirates shit.
Yeah.
We all do it.
Oh, for sure. I
mean,
I'm surprised that when I ended up getting my buddy's WWE account, and he was like, just go ahead and use it whenever you want. He's like, just if you're going to use it for pay-per-views, he's like, just let me know ahead of time because I want to make sure I'm not on it, and I don't want you to cut into me if I'm watching something. I said, all right, yeah, no problem, no big deal. And he was like, but yeah, go ahead, feel free to use it. I was like, you can just use this at any old time? He was like, yeah. He's like, you can have like 4 people using it all at the same time.
Yeah.
I was like, really? Like,
that's pretty stupid.
Don't they know?
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently they got wise a little bit late.
Yeah.
All right. So Dean Ambrose, like I said earlier, he is working through an elbow injury that will need surgery. They basically wrote him off TV on Monday night. Speculation is it's a UCL injury that will need Tommy John surgery, which means he'll be sidelined for at least 9 months.
Oh, the
so
Shield
Dean
gimmick
is gone.
So it's a legit injury, and the
Yes.
Shield gimmick is now taking another massive hit.
Yes.
It's probably been, if you look at the writers and who's looked at it, probably been a disappointing reunion with the Shield.
It has not been,
Smooth.
as smooth as you'd like it to be.
Nope.
Indie star Ricochet will debut in WWE in January. I'm not sure if he's going to start NXT or if he's going to start 205 Live or if he'll just make it to Raw or SmackDown, but he will be debuting for the company in January. I'm assuming it'll be with NXT. Dalton Castle ends up beating Cody Rhodes for the ROH Championship. Dalton Castle's awesome. I'm not sure if you paid any attention to ROH or Dalton Castle, but Dalton Castle is the equivalent of if you had Gold Dust, but without the face paint and without the I guess the over accentuating bicuriousness.
Yes.
Like Dalton Castle is very flamboyant. He dresses like a peacock. He's got 2 little scrawny, they're called the boys, that come out with him. It's an amazing character. He does a great job with it. Dalton Castle was super over like 6 months ago. I don't necessarily know why they're beating Cody Rhodes right now. I know Dalton Castle was injured, so maybe they're just kind of filling out some scripts that they had written before. Not 100% sure. Kenny Omega and Chris Jericho. Some updates on this match that's taking place on January 4th. It is now a no disqualification match.
Ooh, any surprise? Maybe what if they were going to have a surprise? Any new entrants or some alliances shaping up?
I expect the Bullet Club to get involved here, and I expect this is a way for Chris Jericho to lose, but not lose clean. Do you know what I'm saying? So
Gotcha.
a way not to hurt Chris Jericho, but you get Kenny Omega
And more violent.
Yeah,
Nice.
exactly.
More stuff.
I think it works out better for everybody. That's it, man. That's all I got for news and notes.
Interesting week of wrestling. SmackDown definitely has the better angles, has the better superstar. Raw's got to do a lot better job. With a 3-hour show, you got to somehow or another fill out that mid-card. I mean, you got the main angle. You're going to need Brock Lesnar a little bit more. I feel like I know that they can't just feature Braun Strowman every day and every show and every promo, but you got Matt Hardy. You got a couple other gimmicks that you got to kind of work over. You just kind of make the women's revolution make a little bit more sense. You maybe have them involved a little bit more. You just got to rework the show to draw some intrigue. It just seemed like this week's Raw was, we need a show. Let's put it together. We've done other shows. Let's plug and play it. Let's keep it going. And now with the injury to Dean Ambrose, I think you could feature Samoa Joe. You kind of got to limit Jason Jordan. You got to do a lot better job of reworking the angles in the show and maybe doing some other things as well. Potentially, maybe even elevating the tag team scene a little bit more, featuring maybe even just a shakeup. Have the Bludgeon Brothers show up on Raw. You know what? Now I see John Cena. I mean, look, what ends up happening when Raw starts dipping? Who shows up? John Cena. So you got to have some more angles that people care about, and maybe you elevate the tag team a little bit too.
Yeah, I think you're right. Don't be surprised if you see John Cena show up. The way I understand it, John Cena will be in the Royal Rumble. Mm-hmm. I don't think he'll win it, but he will be in the Royal Rumble. And don't be surprised if you see John Cena more on Monday Night Raw.
Yeah, it's needed. No doubt about it. All right, see everybody next week. We'll be back recapping all the news and notes regarding wrestling. Follow Adam on Twitter at AdamRSTROZ. Follow the network at Detroit Podcast. Follow our friends. The Breaking Down the Ring podcast airs live every Wednesday, 9 p.m. on the Podcast Detroit app. Check them out, podcastdetroit.com. Follow them on Twitter at BDRcast.
Merry Christmas, everybody.